of us here have seen Lord of the Rings? Good number of us. For those of us that haven't, or as a refresher, Lord of the Rings is both a book and movie series that follows our main character, Frodo Baggins. Now Frodo Baggins is a hobbit, and he tags along on an adventure with a group of 8 other strangers who become friends. This group is called the Fellowship of the Ring. Throughout the story, the Fellowship works to protect the ring and make sure it doesn't fall into the hands of evil on their way to Mordor. About midway point through the first movie, after Frodo and his Hobbiton friends make it to Rivendell, a council is held there. Now this council is attended by representatives from every kingdom across Middle-earth. But during the council, the attendees begin to argue. They're arguing over who is going to take the ring and the dangers that come with it. But from the back of the room, a voice pipes up. And this voice pipes up and he volunteers to take this ring, but it gets talked over and almost goes completely unheard. Now when they found out who this voice belonged to and realized that it was Frodo, and as I said before, he's a hobbit, and hobbits aren't much known for being all that daring or brave. In fact, they much enjoy to stay in the comfort of their shire and avoid any sort of adventure or mystery. So imagine surprise when they realize the hobbit volunteered to take this ring all the way to Mount Doom. But with the help of the Fellowship, they succeed. And Frodo and his best friend Sam are the ones to cast the ring into Mount Doom, defeating Sauron for good. Now, I bet I can safely say that none of us have had to physically traverse mountains or volcanoes in order to face down evil and fear. But I feel like I can say that we face down evil and fear in our own everyday lives. Surely not the same way as Frodo, but life is scary and tough. How many of us here have at least a little fear of public speaking?
Me.
A few of us? I'll let you in on a secret. See, I also have a fear of public speaking. In fact, I'm kind of nervous talking to y'all right now. And while through the years it feels as though it has gotten better, it feels like it never totally goes away. And that's okay. Throughout my year of service, I've been asked to publicly speak and talk to some pretty high-level authorities. And every time my hands get sweaty and my heart starts to race. But learning to control my fear of public speaking has only been a bump in the road on this mountain that we call life. Just like Frodo learned to conquer his fear of the unknown and make it all the way to Mordor, I learned to conquer my fear. And sometimes that conquering and control looks like taking a second to take a few deep breaths. In and out, in and back out again. Until my heart rate can slow and I can think clearly again. How many of us have either were nervous or are nervous for competing in their CDEs or LDEs? A good number of us. Feeling nervous is completely normal. And there are so many things that we can do as individuals to prepare ourselves for these mountainous fears, one step at a time. And each of these things are going to look completely different. There are proven ways to prepare ourselves before we give a speech. Maybe it's imagining we're talking to puppies instead of people, or we're dancing around backstage to get the jitters out. Or we are taking that second to take those deep breaths, in and out, in and back out again. Whether it's vet science, extemporaneous speaking, or even meeting and talking to a new person, we can all feel these things that feel like the first steps up a mountain.
It's like it was designed for him.
All right, let's switch gears here a little bit. How many of us have either faced a challenge or difficulty and it's resulted in failure? Or maybe it wasn't even failure, but just a heavy setback. quite a few of us. Returning to our Hobbiton heroes, the story continues and the plot thickens. And along the way, they meet so many new obstacles and challenges and dangers, some of them ranging from orcs and trolls to spiders and so much more. And with each new danger and obstacle that they encounter, it feels like it could be the end of the journey, losing the ring and a potential failure. With each obstacle that they face, they don't let it get in their way. They make it all the way to Mount Doom to save Middle-earth. Throughout my year, while I haven't had to fight any orcs or outrun any giant spiders, only the little ones, I have had my fair share of challenges. Since about 4th grade, I have played basketball almost every single season. I love basketball. I love talking about it, I love playing it, I love watching it. But if you're gonna ask me any questions about the NBA or the WNBA, probably won't know the answer. But I love basketball to the point where when we moved up a couple years ago, it was one of my constants and really what helped me to make some of my best friends that I have today. But after my first season here in Alaska, I noticed that I didn't enjoy it quite the same as I had in Washington. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was still a completely fun sport to play, but I noticed that the support between teammates wasn't quite what I was used to. I mean, there was still the thrill of the chase and challenge during games and practice, and there were so many memories that were made. It still didn't quite feel the same. But I brushed it off. And while my freshman season, like many sports seasons, had its ups and downs, I had so much fun and made so many memories. It still didn't quite sit right. But I didn't let it get to me. And so, in preparation for playing for the next season, I went to as many preseason practices as I could. The 6 a.m. weight room workouts, and the conditioning practices where all we did was run all morning in preparation for my sophomore year, where I got the opportunity to try out for the team again, and I made it. That season, I got to play with new teammates and old teammates, and those teammates that I had grown pretty big friendship with. My sophomore season is easily one of my favorite seasons yet. Just from the amount that I grew both mentally and physically through the tenacity and determination, and from the amount of memories that were made. Though we didn't win very many games that season, we still took every opportunity we had to celebrate and cheer each other on. But even though that season was easily one for the books, still didn't quite feel like I belonged. But for the third time, I brushed it off. I wasn't going to let it get to me. I mean, I loved this sport. In fact, I loved it so much to the point that I ignored the fact that I felt like an outsider on my own team for 2 seasons in a row. But with keeping in mind that I wanted to continue playing, I marched through the gym doors one Monday afternoon to participate in my 3rd year of tryouts. However, this year, I would also be battling the fact that I had broken and had surgery on my finger only a few months prior. So that meant jamming my finger on the ball was not an option. But with keeping the goal in mind, playing my junior year, I worked my tail off in all 3 days of tryouts, making sure to push myself when we were running and breathing deep when we were making our shots and hustling on defense. But on the 3rd evening of tryouts, after the roster had been released, I learned that I wouldn't be playing that season. Reading and rereading through the roster with anticipation, first I thought I had just missed my name. But even after the 2 seasons of work and time I put in, I'd still been cut. When I learned I had been cut from the basketball team, I felt so many different emotions, but 3 stood out the most. One, I was devastated. This had been something that I had done since I was 11 years old, and now it was all gone. There would be no more inviting family and friends to games. There would be no more cheering teammates on from the bench. It was all done. Two, I was confused. I wanted to know what I had done to influence their decisions. I mean, my grades were good. I tried to be as coachable as possible. I even tried to have a good attitude on our conditioning days where all we did was run lines for 2 hours, which is not fun. 3, I was angry. I wanted to know why I hadn't been properly informed that I wasn't going to be playing that season before the roster had been released. I wanted to know their reasoning why I wasn't going to be playing for another year. I was upset for a long time. Even after talking to the coaches and asking questions and trying to piece together what all had gone into their decision, didn't leave me feeling any better. So that's when I took a step back and looked at the bigger picture. I asked myself if this is really how I wanted to be spending my time. I asked myself if it was worth playing on a basketball team where I didn't even really feel like I belonged, or never really felt like a team to begin with. That's when I realized that no, I didn't. I also realized that, yes, while I had been cut from the team, I found my mental health improving, as I was now able to invest my time into people and passions that I wouldn't have been able to before. And in this way, it sort of acts like almost a blessing in disguise. Because since then, I've made so many meaningful connections with people that I will continue to treasure for years and years to come. In the end, being cut from the team that I hold so dear was truly devastating and honestly felt like a major setback. But we face these highs and lows in our life all the time. Whether it be, we face these highs and lows in our life all the time. And we learn from them, and they help to push us through life. I'm going to challenge each and every one of us to think of a time where we faced these challenges and difficulties, and it ended in failure, or setback, or maybe a spot of unease, like we didn't know where to go afterwards. How did that make us feel? Whatever came of it? Was it new opportunities? Maybe a minute to take a step back and really look at the bigger picture? We all face challenges in our life, and it's up to us how we let us affect our journey ahead and our journey through life. We all have a little piece of Frodo Baggins in us, with our own Mount Doom and our own difficulties and challenges. But it's up to us if we want to stay at the bottom and try to get a glimpse of what could be or could have been, or if we're going to lace up our boots and begin our ascent to the top, to get a clear view of what we've only been dreaming of since the beginning. Life is full of things we're hesitant about, but I challenge you to take that step, take that chance, because it could turn out to be one of the greatest things you ever decided to do. So let us look to these mountains in life, but not with hesitance or fear, but with a happy heart, because in the end, the view from the top is always worth the climb.